Okay, so last week we kind of looked at culture as an action system, what we live and what kind of, it's more an observation tool, yeah? So kind of by the way we live, we show our culture, yeah? It's as well our thoughts, our values that we carry deep within us that are kind of invisible. Normally there's as well this iceberg, is that the English word? Iceberg? Yeah, okay, good. Just testing, because Berg is German, and I thought I may have made it up. But it's what the tiny bits that come basically to the surface that we interpret as cultures. So of course you have a lot of emotions and feelings probably around topics that you don't necessarily express consistently. Yeah, but the key element to understand is that. In the last 100 years, we have merged those a lot. Yeah? If you go over 100 years back, it was very clear. There was there was public, where you would dress up nicely and you would present yourself to the outside world. And private was you would come home, you would kind of hang your suit away, ready for the next day, and then you would live your social life. If you're interested in that, brilliant book that really looks at culture in that refinedness is a piece written by Bruno Latour, and it looks at cultural competency. So if you want to understand what is meant by that, a wonderful piece, and he points out that by taking work home, you as well kind of break kind of the institutions of your home life. So quite a hot topic, and when I first read about this, I found it very controversial. I had this idealized home life, and then I kind of read the whole book from Bruno Latour, of course, as you would, and then I realized that I never had the home values because my parents always brought work to home as well, and the weekend parties were basically their colleagues coming around to the house. So I was naive. I learned that afterwards. Yeah. So, yeah. But there you go. So traditionally, we look at culture in dimensions of typologies. So here we normally look at values. Here the values are underlined by beliefs that lay at the heart of an organization, gives direction and purpose. Would you be able to spot a value? What is the value of an organization you have worked for, or a company that you may know? What are the values? Often they are stated.
Commitment.
So, yeah?
Commitment.
So which organization? Your personal value or company?
Company.
Okay. So they have stated commitment.
Yeah. Drivers. The key drivers of the company. One valid statement.
Yeah, so this is often how it's presented. You're spot on. Yeah. So the values are often maybe they even state values. So my very long time ago company we actually had 5 values that we subscribed to. Yeah, excellence, fun. Yeah, so we had fun was a value of our company, very important. Yeah, so quality can be one. Yeah, so it's normally those that are formulated.
Environment now.
Environment, yeah. Now, and those are often aspirational values, yeah, that you're trying to live towards. Yeah, and you may find that there are other values underlining the organization. Yeah, so it's a tricky one. Yeah. Then we have as well the heroes. So this is role models to aspire, to emulate. So company founders or successful CEOs. This is not necessarily like somebody that runs around in the Superman costume, yeah, or Spider-Man suit. It's more the idea that you think like, wow, look how he acted. This is, I wish I would have had the opportunity and I could react that way. Yeah, so that is kind of the hero idea. And yeah, do we have heroes? Did you have a scenario in mind where you had a personal hero? I give a controversial one, yeah. As an academic, I would be still shot down for that, but never mind. So for example, Edward Snowden, when he pointed out, this is not all right. that we are downloading all the stuff. This is not okay. Yeah, so deep in me, as an academic, we try as well to be transparent, to publish all our data, where we say exactly with what questions we went to find out our data. So deep in the innerst mind of the scientist in me, I just thought like, yeah, such a great movement, yeah. And I don't really see him as a hero, to be quite honest, but there was a heroic moment. That is kind of an example. I mean, there was a lot of dilemmas that came afterwards. There's no doubt about that either. But yeah, so well, that was a controversial example. But do you maybe have an example where you remember that there was a moment like that?
Sport sense is quite simple, but in a company sense it's a bit more difficult.
Yeah, so maybe give us a sport example. What was the sport example?
Past really famous Olympic athletes or football heroes in the past for the club.
Okay, so for a club, yeah. So basically, one athlete. Sorry, I didn't. Alan Shearer. Oh yeah, okay.
Or Jackie Milburn.
Okay. So here we have details. So why Alan Shearer?
No, just when it says sporting sense, he's the iconic Newcastle player of modern era. So little kids playing football. If you could relate company sense to like a personal sense, a little kid playing football would look up and think, I want to be Newcastle's record goal scorer, I want to be the next Alan Shearer.
I think for it all that as well, it was the loyalty he showed to come back here when he could have went to somewhere else and won a lot more. He came and stuck out.
So he had value as well.
So
having said so Newcastle did pay as well quite decent, to be fair. But I see the. No, sorry, I didn't want to undermine this. This is terrible. Sorry, I should have said that. But yeah, you're spot on. Yeah, so it's maybe an athlete that really comes to the peak of the performance and really is a team leader as well, yeah, or something like that. In moments where you need a leader because you can see it's tough. Yeah.
Unfortunately for us, the England World Cup winning team. That's still one we look back at.
The
1966 World Cup winning team, role models, heroes.
Okay.
Spice it big on that one.
Okay. Actually, there's a. So this was a controversy between Germany and England in that game, but Germany has one clear lead on one thing. I mean, Brazil won the most World Cups, but Germany lost the most finals of any nation. So this is quite impressive too. That's yeah, okay. Not so funny actually. Luckily we have no Germans here. They normally take that quite serious. Oh, why do you have to bring the statistic up? Yeah, okay. Yeah. But okay, so heroes in a work sense is more difficult. But what could be heroic about the work environment?
I mean, if you think of something like the emergency services, maybe, I don't know. People have been brave. The armed forces, maybe. I don't know. It's difficult to work in a company sense, isn't it? It's really
so you have a work remit, and you notice there is a requirement for going an extra mile, which may be brave, dangerous, or extra disciplined, or staying longer, something that is beyond normal. That is where the hero comes out. Yeah?
Sometimes then your company founders are the ones who keep getting told, no, you can't do that, and have a really strong, driven personality. Just that's the focus, that's the light at the end of the tunnel, and we will get there, whatever it takes, as long as it's legally morally correct.
So it's a leadership as well, yeah, that comes through maybe.
I think internally driven as well, strong motivation. Where probably 90% of people would say, okay, we can't do this and pack in or go and work somewhere else. They have a strong belief and focus on their ideas or their products.
You can become as well a hero by accident, right? So it's not always that plan, but
you maybe don't see yourself as a hero, but it's the perception that other people have of it. To them, it's maybe we're just doing our job, but other people may look up to them, and also the models that some companies, I think, especially in the 90s and whatever, with the environment, and I think they started off with the smoothies, and we weren't going to be putting this into our product, and so they were trying sort of different aspects to.
Yeah, but you said the interesting keyword. Yeah, so it's morals that are ethically reflected maybe in our own belief system. Yeah, so that is as well a very strong aspect. So you feel that could be the right thing, or moral, even from your moral perspective, this is a very honorable thing to do. Yeah, and that is where the hero is kind of placed, which is quite powerful.
Entrepreneurial people, if you look at them as heroes individually, I suppose, as well. Those who are self-employed.
Yeah.
Is it Alan Sugar and Richard Branson? You could look at these people and what they started with and how they got there. People who want to follow them the same sort of route.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So maybe even a journey that you're aspiring to do yourself. Success is as well interpreted as heroes, yeah, which is quite interesting. Now, heroes have a very bad reputation in the German language because there is this belief that you have already missed something out to make a hero possible. So it means that other people are in the position where they are in fear, where they can actually not perform as they may want it. So this is quite interesting. So it's a very strong concept, but there's well cultures that kind of alienate the concept of the hero.
Does that mean that you think there should be no room for improvement then?
No improvement, but it should be everybody. There should be no hero, you all improve. Yeah? And it should be seen then as a good thing.
Like a group rather than an individual.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a group focus, yes, spot on. Whilst the hero is individuals. Yeah? Otherwise we are talking more about heroic acts and so forth. Yeah? Now then you have as well rites and rituals, so routine interaction, meetings, ceremonies, the proper terms are actually rituals, ceremonies, and ceremonial procedures, but we have cleaned that up, so it's basically mean things and how you interact, yeah, how you are coming together. This is now as well weird things like virtual meetings. Yeah, so for example, my dissertation students, I have tomorrow a symposium with them over 3 hours, and half of them are Skyping in from other places around the world. Yeah, and then the other half will be sitting in my room, and we have then a discussion about points that we have kind of prepared for. So this is kind of the idea. Now, they have often a very strong symbolic quality if it's really rituals. So a symposium is actually a good example. Yeah, it's coming together and being accountable and knowing that you are doing a dissertation project. What is another, do you know, maybe stronger example of symbolic quality, rituals? What do we do after a project?
Celebrate.
Yes, very good. How do we celebrate?
Give the workers fish and chips.
Yeah?
Or pizzas.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's it, yeah. Don't go out.
I think I don't want to say now what I experienced when I was in the industry. So we had like celebrating basically the putting up of the roofing. So once you have the yeah, it's basically carpentry. What is the name for it? Topping out.
Yeah, when you reach the highest point and you put the last floor or something like that.
Maybe a peak.
Yes, so it would be normally the local neighbors would be invited, and traditionally in Germany they would make a flower crest, I guess. Yeah, I noticed that my German English may melt into the description here. Basically you come around, the local community comes around, and there's normally a barbecue, or if it's bad weather, then it's inside, under the roof basically, yeah. And then there's food and drink. Normally a lot of, in Germany, a lot of beer. It's a tradition, especially in rural places. And then there's dancing as well, yeah. And that is to basically give good luck to the new house. It's an old kind of cultural thing that belongs to localities in Germany. But even on like multi-million large-size building size on the Sony Center, Potsdamer Platz, where we didn't have it with the dancing and local community because there was not a lot of local community, but there was an invite of all the contractors, and there was food, and then from 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock onwards there was as well drink, and then celebration and music and a little bit of a party, because they had reached the highest point, and it's as well still, I suppose, a symbolic quality that everything goes well. So it's quite an interesting one. Do you know other examples maybe like that? It doesn't have to be only work. Do you have any rituals in your life? Christmas. Yeah, very good example, yeah. For me as an academic, celebrating you graduating, yeah. You will see we run around with interesting suits on and a hat that looks strange, but yeah.
Taking photographs on the top of the mountain.
Yeah, so the peak,
Yeah.
basically, the peak climb, yeah,
Yeah.
for mountaineering, yeah, good example. So it's an achievement, yeah, that you have fought the
Elements.
nature, yeah, elements, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Other examples? There are plenty. They are all around us. It may be a family dinner, it may be a birthday. Those are the typical rituals. Then, if you are part of a religion or monotheism or polymism, then you may have as well holidays that you celebrate with food and drink or cleaning your body. Or there are a lot of symbolic.
Pancake Tuesday. This month, Pancake Tuesday.
Banking.
Pancake Tuesday.
Oh, Pancake Tuesday.
Pancake
That is
Tuesday.
a good one. So, what? Really?
17th of February, yeah.
Okay, sorry, I just checked that. I had something like that before, like when I used to row, this was a real thing, but I thought it was made up by one of the guys. There were a lot of holidays and ceremonies that I didn't really buy into, and that was one where I would have questioned it, but this is a real thing, yeah?
Pancakes, yeah.
Okay, I like the commitment, okay, I sign up for that. 17th, yeah?
Not like sugar.
Yeah. I mean, there's an insight to be gained. Best pancake, what do you put on top?
Anything savoury or sweet. Savoury or sweet. You
Savoury.
can have salmon in it, you can have ice cream in it.
It's lost its
Ah.
over the years, hasn't it?
This is not true.
Oh, sugar.
The best. So on Pancake Day, the important thing that you want to try if you go for a pancake, try sugar and a little bit lemon juice on top. That is Champions League. This is my personal judgment here. Yeah? I really like to make pancakes, personal inside. Yeah. So especially since it's now a ritual, very good. Yeah. So then we have as well cultural network. So here we have informal communication. We have informal communication systems, hidden hierarchies, or power in an organization. Yeah. Do you have examples for that?
I suppose the opposite of that would be like the military, because that's very clear, isn't it, with the ranks and this. So you would see the hierarchy, you understand who's in charge. But obviously in an organisation today, sometimes the way people dress sort of can dictate, and where the offices are, although it's still quite informal. Tend to higher up in the organisation, for whatever reason, tend to go on the higher floors.
Better office. Bigger car in the car park.
Yeah, but is that not quite formal then? It's kind of.
It's hidden though, isn't it? It's like they're sort of claiming to be this, everyone's the same, but like
Yeah,
you look
no,
down,
yeah.
you look down the cars and see
Yeah.
who's the boss and who's the manager.
You can
and
park where in the car park
Yeah.
and things. Yeah.
Oh, is it as extreme that if you come around with a bigger car, you're in trouble? Is it that kind of environment?
Yeah, well, but I haven't tried it. I couldn't get in the car park with my car. It just wouldn't fit. It wouldn't be part of it.
Yeah, I got in a lot of trouble once. This is when I was still at university. I worked as a research assistant for a professor, and I had a friend that dated a girlfriend that really liked luxury cars, and she picked us up in a very fancy sports car and honked the horn. She didn't come up to pick us up. So, and it was basically like a stage. It was kind of, you will see that Technical University Berlin, you can Google it, it's a not so pretty skyscraper, yeah, and basically if you honk the horn, you basically have an audience. And she basically went, dee, dee, why are they not coming down? She texted us as well, and was a little bit impatient and like basically honked the horn a lot. And it took us ages to get from the 10th floor down. Don't honk the horn anymore. And yeah, it was clear that it was us. So it was everybody who was coming out of this building, and it was us. And I'm like, oh, nice car. Is this your car? And you can afford this from your pay. So there was a lot of you wouldn't expect it in Germany, but the cars, you're on a different planet in Berlin. Yeah, they're very like, oh, what car do you have? They take that very serious. But yeah, interesting. But is this as well something? Is this hidden or is it open? Did you have the same there? Let's discover first, where is maybe informal communication systems and hidden hierarchies? Where is this maybe very common? Often in sports team, right? Or if you play music. Yeah. So it's people that. So yeah, in a sport we often have an official team captain, but you have often as well informal leader. That says like, hey, come on, let's meet. We go for a dinner after the game. Wasn't a great game. We lost again. Let's have a dinner and like think about how we can improve. Yeah? So this is an informal hierarchy that then kind of carries you through. You have that as well in work teams. Yeah? So if you work in with different trades, it's very common that not necessarily the business owner is the boss, but sometimes it's somebody else actually of the people that kind of takes the informal leadership.
In really back to the sporting sense, if you like go back to the player, you might have the captain, you see, or the person's a manager. You may bring one player in who has a good social group of players that will bring in, even though he's not the official captain. I'm just relating to what you were saying there, because he's at the team, is it that aura of the place? So yeah, it's about culture, communication, and just how people interact with one another, I suppose. So that's the informal side. You see that in business as well, man. Just really what you said there. You could have a person who could be the works at a team leader who got the promotion because it was, he got the job, but there could be someone else down there that everyone still follows more. So it does happen. So
for example, in my research group as well at university, with my colleagues, it's very polite. We give each other the hand with distance. And if I meet my research group, it's hugs and like, oh, how have you been? And then this is kind of the thing, yeah. And then I had another team, but they are now in other continents, so they have really moved. And there we had like secret hand signs. It wasn't really secret. It was like this handshake and then like this, and then it was complicated. This was sophisticated stuff. No, it wasn't quite that, but it was kind of a fun thing. But it took ages to figure out, and you had to kind of go along if you wanted to be in. Yeah? But I got it. I got it after like 3 meetings. I was part of it, so we're very proud as well. But anyway, so there's a little bit that going on, yeah, and you can look out for it and analyze it. Now I've broken it down a little bit more concrete into concepts. Basically this comes from dominant types of organizational cultures. Handy in 1987 kind of wrote the main work on this, and they really a difference. It's actually a team of researchers. It's not just her. They looked at different forms of identifying culture. So they looked at task culture, often considered individuals operating in teams or matrix organization. And here you're looking at associated with the project management, can be cooperative, expert-based, a home for professionals maybe, where you have roles. And in construction we have that a lot. Yeah? So especially if you think of the, like 70 years ago, what were the professions that we had already in construction? What are the first professions that we had in construction? Did we have the full picture? Did we have a building service engineer? Did we have
designers and carpenters and stonemasons?
Professional to be architect.
Yes, this was it.
Engineer, that's about it.
So you may had a builder or an architect. This was the kind of profession. Then you had maybe surveyors. In the UK, this was a big thing because you had already the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors. They did already the mapping. It's a very old traditional one. But then you had actually trades that were managing. So you had managers that came from the trades and were kind of coordinating the teams, looking at their piecework that they did, their task. was actually sufficient, and then they would hand it over to the next team. Yeah? And we still find that. So if you work on large construction sites, for example Dubai or Abu Dhabi, you have often still the overlap of different organization systems. Yeah, some are still very much organized by, in the UK, in the literature you will read that as gang masters. Yeah, I was always fascinated by that terminology. But it was basically a team leader that would look after a team of workers, and they would make deals and contracts for work amounts, and then the team would work on it. Yeah? And so this still exists in the UK, and it's not just the UK, it's pretty much in a lot of economies. We have actually standardized that into professions, and that is in the piecemeal that we have, the task culture, where everybody comes in with their task to perform on the project, because it's their responsibility. So architect may make the design, may not. You may have a design manager that talks increasingly with a client and maybe some stakeholders that are involved as well. And then you have a civil engineer, maybe a structural engineer, and so forth. And then tradespeople, you may have one bricklayer, you have maybe one laborer that kind of brings the stones and stuff like that. So you get the idea. There may be different roles. Yeah. Now there are issues associated with it. Issues, too many managers can also hide the real stereotype of power culture. Wait a minute, is that correct? Yes. So what you can find here behind that as well is if you have all these teams being managed, you may find that people really work kind of in an edge level. So you may compromise for time the quality because you are basically trimmed that way. But let's have a look actually at power culture. Often centered around a strong individual, surrounded by reliable individuals who think and act in a similar way. A few formal rules or bureaucracy, but can be very disciplined organization. People judged on basis of effectiveness and results, often Machiavellian. So this is a little bit what was meant. So in that maybe trades group that may perform their skill set, you may have one that is very loud, that negotiates the deal, but you may find as well that if you set the performance so high and you're not performing well, that there's maybe blaming going on, that your team was not like pulling enough weight, which is actually maybe the aim was set too high. Yeah? So this is a typical way of looking at it. Now we have as well person culture. This is created from cluster of individuals who have come together for mutual benefits. Organization is loose, decentralized and networked. Professionals can feel stronger alliance to a personal culture because they have a greater sense of community, commitment to their own professional standing, but can be difficult to organize and exercise power over. So you may see that as well. Yeah? So professionals may say like, oh, this job that I worked on was horrendous. I didn't have like the minimum standards and things like that. Yeah? So you disassociate yourself as a professional with that job, which was somebody else's fault. Instead of saying like, we didn't really pull our weight enough on this project. Yeah? We should have tried harder. I wish my team members would have pulled a little bit harder on this. Yeah. Then we have as well role culture, and that is where you are quite autark, where you have as well the responsibility and accountability. So generally it has formally defined roles, rules, and procedures. They seek minimum risk, maximum efficiency, and effectiveness. Can be rigid and slow to change, because roles means often as well competences, you identify with it, a little bit like the profession. Can be reliable in action, albeit individuals may hide their talents behind their roles. So this is as well to say you may more do what you're comfortable with instead of really pushing the envelope along those lines. This is as well very process-oriented. So this means the decision maker for this particular piece is that person because they have the role, whilst this may be oversimplified and you know it's fine. Yeah, so you could just have the indicators in your work package and say like, okay, I can see as well that this works. Yeah. It's very process-oriented and can exist within the jobs, secure and 9-to-5 organizations, public sectors as well associated with it. It can have all kinds of side effects, of course, on that basis. Now, we are back to the business metaphor. Now, culture sits, of course, directly in relation as well with in relation to your company environment. Yeah, so those are kind of structural features that you basically play by. And I wanted to use a little bit free business, a few business metaphors to maybe analyze as well what organizations you have been in. So, can anybody identify with that? So this is kind of the business metaphor of the free spirits. People who can discover and learn for themselves. Is this an organization? Did your organization buy into this? For example, at university, this is kind of expected, that I'm reading the newest journals, that I'm as well publishing my research in those areas, in the newest journals. That is just expected. It's implicit to my job. They try not to measure it. Also, they count how many journals I have, how many conferences I attend. But again, this is they actually change here the remit. But in free spirit organization, people can discover and learn for themselves. Is this something you recognize in your companies that you have worked in, or do you buy into that in your maybe family setting? Is that how you have been brought up, or that what you believe in, or? Okay, so in your family, for example, this was the spirit, yeah? Okay.
Didn't want to deter what I want to do, just do what I want to do. Just don't do what he done, he said.
And did this work well, or did you get into a lot of conflict?
Yeah, I did a lot.
Okay, so this is where you as well on the search basically. Where is the right direction? Yeah. With free choice comes a dilemma. You have to consistently as well reconsider where you're going.
You see?
You see that the education system, certainly in this country, stopped that. Going back to the video you showed.
Yeah, Ken Robson. Yeah.
Yeah, the one where it's you're in school and you learn this and you learn that because we told you that. Kind of stifles the notion of going out and discovering what you want to learn. So people, if they've been in education for say 15, 20 years, they're not going to be inclined to go and find what they want to learn because I just need to learn what they need to learn. So
I think it's been evidence done that, isn't it? Kids have more freedom and they're more forward, they've got more get them going, and just confidence gets knocked down through the schooling in the UK. I think that relates to what they're saying here. It's your outgoingness and your adventureness and your having to go at things. It just gets it's closed down, I think, within school.
Yeah, if you make it such careful analysis, you would even conclude that my example that I just said is actually as well thematically kind of framed. So I'm not free to learn about the newest red wine selection that is just coming out at the moment in France. We're studying in my mind, but this is not an option. Yeah, I think my university would be quite upset about that. Although, having said so, my team from I point over there because that is where they are actually based in that building there. The research and business support team, they always say like, Robert, you should keep going, go to the golf clubs, meet the company owners, talk to them. So they really buy into that, but normally my line manager doesn't. So there you go, that was how free my spirit is, but in my research area, I guess that is true. But you're quite right, so there's a stifling. Why is that maybe a dangerous way? So you already pointed out, if you're really free, you will have difficulties of figuring out where you want to go.
Guidance, I think, personally, at some point. Some successful people in the past like successful set of parents have done something in a business and they've had a direction to follow because they know it works. So they've got more goal orientated, I find. But I think people who come from a background where, you know, they're a working class background and there's not so much success in their family, it is one of them soul searching areas. I think it just, I think it's a bit of a balance. I think it depends on the individual as well.
Yeah. So there's certainly then a positioning required as well. So they're learn for themselves. So there are certain skill sets that are very useful just to have. So there are classical notions even that you can actually talk well, write well, that you can orient yourself, that you can kind of figure out business-wise, if you're on the healthy side. But aside of that, so this is kind of the playground where we had as like an interface of collaborating or living together as well in spatial spheres. But then you have the other side of really positioning where you want to go. And a very, very critical comment. So if you have too much given, then you stop thinking as well, or it's more difficult to actually think, well, what is actually available to me? Nobody has given me that kind of piece of available information. Yeah. So interesting. So a little bit a dilemma in this one. So the metaphor of Saving Private Ryan. Has anybody seen that? Okay, some people not. So what is it all about? Saving Private Ryan. The metaphor of the free spirit. So this is a drama, and where does the free spirit come in? It's a guy that gets basically missioned in the military to find him. He's basically free to do what he can do, and goes quite unconventional ways actually on the path to finding him. Okay, so maybe a movie to watch. Is this a good movie? It was okay. But as a metaphor, quite powerful, because they are learning as well as they're going along. They get kind of dropped roughly where this soldier got lost, and then start exploring just by word of mouth and try to get better information where the battalion that he belonged to may have gone. Yeah, but that is very difficult to follow as well. Yeah. Now, so this is really more the management metaphor, but Barings Bank. Now there I have to think myself, which movie was that? Technically...
You look like Nick Leeson.
Pardon?
You look like Nick Leeson.
Is this an actor?
Yeah. He's the actual guy.
Oh!
He's the guy. You have to Google him.
Ewan McGregor stopped him, that wasn't it?
Is this worth Googling now? We do it in the break, yeah? But it was the idea of a technically empowered rogue who wreaked havoc with illegal trading on the derivatives stock exchange. And I looked like him. This is very bad. So, but the idea was really that they learn basically on the job. Badly, here the sad practice, and he looks like me, this is very bad. And here the good practice of how you actually find it. Yeah? But interesting setting.
He's trying to recoup some. Was it just business losses, wasn't it?
Losses, yeah.
He lost some money. He made a lot of money, and he lost some money.
Just a gamble.
And then he thought, well, I'll try something more risky, and I'll get the losses back. And then he lost again. So we've kept.
Yeah, it piles up now.
Why did it end up?
827 million pound gross business.
Yeah, so quite interesting example. Worth exploring as metaphors. Yeah, it's as well about learning and taking risk, and having actually direction in going the way. Yeah. Then another example, maybe setting fire to the first floor. What does that mean? As a management metaphor. Have you come across that culture?
It's like letting the staff. Is it like letting the staff sort it out themselves?
So yeah, kind of. But what do you do?
I think it's you set the fire, have no means of escape.
Yeah.
And then within the room, the staff will have to start making discussions and decisions to.
So you have just achieved aims. I take the construction example because that was just beautiful. I worked as well as what was it actually? I suppose site engineer, support manager. I basically organized drawings and collected delivery shines and things like that. And there was the most amazing thing. The site manager had decided that the internship students had to just do holes for foundations and pour the concrete that was delivered in it, and then they could go home. That would be a decent job for the whole day. Now he formulated it, of course, in a very unfortunate way. He said, like, you make the concrete foundations and then you can go home. Which translated in the mind of the internship students, we smash the concrete in some holes that we cannot dig, and then we can go home. So it was roughly the remit was the same. But in their mind, they had an additional performance indicator that I think we can do this in 1.5 hours. And it's just 6:30. This means I'm back for breakfast at home. So it reacted in very crazy arrangements. So one of the mini diggers, we had like mini diggers, like basically 360 excavators for, in my mind, a children's dream of, have you seen those little ones? Yeah? So they basically had one of those. They didn't have the license of using them, of course. Nobody was on site by that point yet. They were basically busy digging away with this, making the holes, which were not the right size. Then basically putting all the concrete that was delivered. So there was 1 cubic meter of concrete too much delivered. This was just spare because it was an educational contract, so then you have to basically calculate for the spares that some concrete may go wrong, or basically that is why a big trolley that you could use as well for pouring. And the traditional example was to fill it up to maximum, which was a cubic meter, and then basically still wanting to pour that sideways. Well, you can't do that. The thing goes. Once you have it like falling to one side, you can hang with 3 men on the other side. Okay, never mind. Leverage and weight, wonderful dynamic. Yeah. So anyway, but here we were, our internship students basically digging away, putting the concrete in. All the concrete was gone, and one foundation was missing. So this. Well, for me this was hilarious funny when I actually arrived at the construction site. That wasn't, of course. So, but that was basically incentivizing by fire. Yeah, for them, it was just like, let's get finished as quickly as possible. Bad incentivization. But normally the metaphor with setting a floor on fire is you set performance standards higher, that they're nearly not achievable, and you let the team to kind of sort it out. Yeah. Have you experienced something like that? Or a manager coming in, this is not good enough, you have to work harder. This is basically the metaphor that comes from that.
Yeah, I had experience maintenance projects where I had labour on site, fix the gas board in. I mean, the gas board's fault really as well, but they put 2 gas meters in the same floor plan.
Wow. Okay, this is interesting too. So what happened? I hope no other.
I got to site and I got there and I was like, what the hell's happened here? You know, it says he should have told us on this floor, so I thought they just knew what they were doing. Transco. Well, they should have known better Transco, but there was a meter behind the stairs as well, so there was 2 meters in the same property, and they were so adamant about this wall just to separate the 2 properties, and then when they came, they cocked it up.
This is of course quite bitter, especially with gas. Normally if it's still open and no windows, then it's not too sealed, but it can get exciting on many levels. Interesting. But often setting the floor on fire is a strategy, especially in heated environment, where you have like a quick fix, or where the solutions don't have to be too perfect, you just need a solution. Then this is often a traditional way of doing it, which is still around. Yeah. Is this desirable? Is this good?
I suppose not really. I suppose I had a forklift driver on a site, timber frame build, and I had he wasn't really very good, but he was related to the construction director. So he was on my site, and he knocked 3 semi-detached timber frame bungalows over with the forklift. And this was after I had complained about several other things that he did.
Yeah.
Crushing manholes and running tools out and all this sort of stuff. So he's what he did was he sent the NECT up to do a stand test in the car park with him, and he lifted the front end up, spun around 3 times, and that was his pass. So he's back on the side again. But obviously it was set so high for him, but his leg down.
Okay.
Corrected all his damage afterwards.
He did.
Well, he did.
Okay. Yeah, so this is particularly painful. Okay, but so do you think it was too much for him? So
definitely, definitely too much for him. Yeah. He had his ticket. He just couldn't manage. I don't know if it was the work or his condition or what.
State of mind, was maybe a little bit too playful. Yeah. So that is often a tough thing to balance, but you will probably find it as well, construction sites, yeah. And retrospectively, often very funny stories. Yeah, where we had that as well. I could just dug a hole, and then he drove once over, and it was gone. So it evens the ground out again. So interesting point. Ford's losses are magic is another one. So this is. Does anybody know what that is? Ford's losses. Why were they magic? This is a metaphor from 2000, I think. But it's still in business literature, that is still the phrase they use. But I don't think it's that popular anymore.
So the thing that the fact that it was that important, Ford is in the car maker.
Yeah.
It was that important, the Detroit and Michigan, that it was backed by the government anyway, so they could make as many losses as they want and it didn't matter.
No, this is actually when Detroit was not a proper city anymore in 2000. But so they had to close the factories, and it shake basically up their way of doing business. So before, you are quite right, they had enormous losses, and the government just basically put subsidies in. They said like, okay, we back you, try to improve, and they did it again the same way and expected again the matching from the government until the government said like, no, thank you. We had enough, and basically that meant that they had to close a lot of factories in Detroit, created beautiful, I shouldn't make the analogy there, but that meant really for Ford actually that they looked at reorganizing how they're doing things, and they really looked as well at how other car makers are working, and they came out as a very profitable business again. And they have even rebought like the factory estate that they had to sell or close down in Detroit, and have started again building again cars as well, parts and assembly.
Yeah, they've had the best few years, well, probably ever, I think, product-wise.
Yeah.
Last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, so is it it was magic by what it turned itself into?
Yeah. So just to make that very clear, so the losses and failure was so severe that they had to realize that the way they are doing it is not sufficient. They have to change, and they really have to consider systematically how they can improve. So they look basically for comparison. They worked a lot together with consultancies to actually get back on track. And so the waking sign can be as well a very strong one.
Tesco, right?
Yeah, Tesco. Yeah, this is the other famous example. I was really surprised. I know. So Tesco. What is the example with Tesco?
They exaggerated their profits, didn't they? They got them wrong.
Yes.
Forecasts. So they all kept opening more and more stores, and of course, nowhere near their margins.
Yeah. So they predicted. It's basically what is a problem for a retailer? How can you get that wrong?
Outside forecast just being a bit too unrealistic, really. Expectation just over the top, really, just never going to hit them target.
So retailers have a little bit the same dilemma like logistic companies.
Underestimated their smaller rivals at the time, perhaps.
Yeah. So
things had to change, and obviously, like so the Aldi's and Lidl's came in and changed the way supermarkets worked.
Yeah.
And they underestimated it.
So a big problem for retailers, logistic companies, or it's the same actually in auto. Well, actually, they're pretty good now. But automotive companies had the same problem on assembly lines. it's very difficult to measure how much assets you actually have in the company. Yeah? And how much has been cashed in, because in retailers and logistic companies, you are not paid when the product is there. You may get like a pre-fee, yeah, to actually store it or put it on the shelf, but you get normally paid once the customer is paid, and then from that you pay the product owner the actual amount, and then you see basically what your margin is from that. Does that make sense?
Putting the pressure on the supply as well, wasn't it, in the recently?
Yeah, absolutely. So Tesco was as well, I think there's as well a few cases running at the moment where they're being investigated for basically,
Suppliers.
basically, it's illegal. So basically they have pressurized the supply chains to prepay access to their store. And that is actually not uncommon, but they've done it to such an extent that it caused outrage in the supply chains and the product owners of the products that basically are sold on the retail.
So it's forcing suppliers to sell their goods to them at a loss, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah,
This
absolutely.
must be done for years, alongside that, as that Tesco a lot of them have been doing
Yeah,
for
it's
years.
actually quite common practice in retail. So I mean, game changers were really Aldi and Lidl, the German retailers, because they don't buy products. They go into partnerships with the suppliers. So if you agree to be a supplier for them, it's a 10-year contract with a fixed fee. So initially, the first 3 years, it's a lot more money, and then normally the market price basically picks up, and that is why the products are so cheap. So in Aldi and Lidl, and you have less flexibility. So they really commit long term to the products that you see on the shelf. But nonetheless, they play the same game. I think to a degree. So sometimes you need a little bit a wake-up call to actually restructure and reposition and think about what you're doing in the business. So as well as a project manager, this may be something you face, to actually pull the plug and say like, wait a minute, this is another project that probably runs in the wrong direction. Ideally, you would have the decision power or at least the voice to address that to somebody that has the decision power to maybe pull the project and say, wait a minute, before we start that, we really have to change something to be on the business side profitable, to maybe perform again in the time frame given, as well maybe to the client requirements that you actually have to achieve that you may have missed in the past or were overlooked.
I think when companies are generally profitable and making money, you don't concentrate on as much things as maybe you should do. I remember working for a company, and they always made money, every job, and then one job they lost, not a fortune, but 20, 30 grand or whatever. And it was only then that we actually then started really looking into how many skips are we using on site, what time are the guys leaving site, are they leaving at 10 past 4, quarter past 4 instead of half 4, what percentage of waste have we got. And it was only then that they really had a look down and tightened everything up. But prior to that, because they were making money on every job, they didn't take too much notice.
Yeah, and this
So it's a wake up call.
This is measurement can be a very powerful thing, yeah. And as project managers, we are always as well quite tempted to do that quite on the hard side. Yeah, have our performance indicators, but there's of course as well the soft side. Yeah, so if you really hit then profit issues, then and the work is still done and it has been done as before, then it's normally as well an indication that you are tipping on something else. It's often not just the measurement. But again, here what you have described, so measuring time, how long people work, that is a particular game. You can go as well for package deals, where the contractors just have to complete it for a fixed price. So then you avoid being that controlling or monitoring person as a project manager, which is as well a particular type of work activity. Yeah.
I worked for a company that did refurb on new build, but the new build ran at a loss. And the refurb kept them afloat, and they seemed to be quite happy with that for a while, until they realised that the refurb wasn't going to last forever. And then they used to work at set price, where they'd work from the base up over, find out what they had left, and then build on that, and that's how they lost money on every new build. And then what they did was they brought external management in rather than promote the internal. Brought external management and upset a few people, and then see the change on there and it worked after that.
Okay, so this is quite a tough decision really to bring as well external people in, especially if there's this expectation of succession, that you are the next one to move up, and then there's a new guy. This is then of course.
Was it all high level as well? It was all top end that they brought in.
Okay.
From people who had actually started the company up as well, or pushed to the side. Kept stagnant and people were brought in above them.
Interesting, but it did work, yeah.
It did in the end, yeah.
Very
Not
interesting.
At the other, they bring external consultants in, they're going to find new ways that you've probably been overlooking for years. So that's the way it's always been done, isn't it?
Not consultants, brought them in, employed them, that was it, took them on.
Well, it's, yeah, so they've been operating new people.
Change the scene,
Change it.
So there wasn't the case of, we'll show you how to go on, people know what the existing employees, they didn't say it, we'll show you how to go on, we'll bring somebody in to teach you how to go on. He said, we'll bring a new boss in the bubble, later on, that was it really.
Yeah, but it's very powerful to really get this well an outsider's perspective, because you are often really caught up in a way of doing things that can really contradict maybe how it could be done the most sufficient way, whatever you understand under sufficiency. So this is maybe different criteria. If you are planning to be more sustainable or more socially as well compliant with what's expected from your team, then it's maybe not the way you're doing it if people complain about that. Yeah?
That's change again, it wasn't just a cultural thing. People resist change, don't like change.
Funny enough, we talk about change as well. It's not until really, I suppose, I was set in the same ways as everybody else, whereas my focus was to do as specified, and that's it. And I think a lot of builders had the same, not everybody, but a lot of builders had the same focus. I've built what you want. It doesn't matter whether it serves a purpose or it's fit for purpose. I did what you wanted, but they're having to change. I want it. And everybody's having to change now and build something that's fit for the purpose rather than what you want to.
It's an interesting stretch. At the same time, we have as well at the moment a lot of power plants that are being built, and we have real problems with building actually the cooling system. So a lot of the new power plants need a cooling system that has been upgraded, new standards. We have new metals that we can use, but we haven't got actually a lot of expertise company or specialist companies that can install this. And this is a big hookup at the moment. So this is a very hot topic. So they're trying to lobby at the moment for new skills development to bring companies up in the UK to do this, because even the French power plants that they're building at the moment are already delayed due to this. They have tried to do it and they had repeated failures, and the companies that did it got bust over it. So they are basically out of the game. And it's an interesting time to look at something like that. So existing cultures may actually not work for our advanced technology standards or profit margins that we're after. Yeah? I mean, there may be as well other ones. You may have heard as well of the frog out of the pan. That is just a metaphor to even make that example a little bit clearer. Now, this is a metaphor, so don't do that as an experiment at home. This is very important to recognize. So you put a frog in a pan of water, and if the water is hot, it will jump straight away out. Now, if you put them in cold water and then gently turn the heat on, the frog is clever, but it's able to adapt as well to the rising temperature until it gets deadly. And then often the frog doesn't jump out. Now, yeah, there was a picturesque description with that, so it actually explodes and dies. So there is maybe as well that gradual shift in culture that can be toxic for what you are doing. Yeah, and it's important to have indicators that to actually find a way of getting out of that. Yeah. Okay, we had that already with the 4 dimensions. I encourage you as well to maybe work through that in your in the handbook, to make some notes and see where you're arriving with your own analysis of the culture. What are maybe examples that come to mind? Yeah, just to familiarize with the concept of it. Shall we have a short 10 minutes break? Yeah? Okay.
It might have come direct from them. We did make it have a commercial deal from being in the North East. So there's 2 major cities being Manchester and London.
Okay, let's get started again and move a little bit. Let's move a little bit away from the pure culture notion, which is actually very exciting in itself. But there will be a little bit an overlap as well to what we're talking about. And I'm quite curious in particular about what you consider cultural competences to be. Yeah, what do you consider worth investing in terms of cultural competencies? Is there such a thing in project management? And what is cultural competence in the first place? But we come back to that question, so there is still a little bit overlap. But we kind of start now a little bit looking at management and leadership as a bigger theme. And we start off with a topic that I really like. It's a theory that I have taken from my colleague here, Andrew Gale. Andy Gale, really. He is Manchester University and a very acribic research in that area. And he kind of looked at competences at organizational and personal level. And here mostly focusing though on the project manager. And we look in more detail as well at the trade side to get our head as well around the vocational and operational side actually. Now he sees the effective job performance as an organizational competency base somewhere between the environment that you're operating in, then the competencies of the individual that actually can operate in this environment, and the requirements of the particular task. So this may be time constraints. So you see the overlap. So let's maybe make some sense of that. What is the overlap between the environment and the competences of the individuals? Did you have anything in mind there? What could that be? What would be challenges? Why is it worthwhile looking at this kind of sphere in between? Somebody is competent to do the job? Or what's the problem?
It could be a couple of things. It could be the actual working environment, i.e. temperature, that type of thing. Or it could be the work environment in terms of the people or colleagues that they're actually working with as well, which may, although they're competent to do the job, those things may have a negative impact on the performance.
Yeah. So you have already refined it. This is actually requirements of the task, in other words, right. what you have combined there.
Okay,
yeah? But this was super. So environment, particular in that theory, we actually refer to as weather. Yeah, the conditions that you're on site. Is it raining? Do you have to work in an unusual environment? Does this affect your tools, equipment, materials that you may use? Yeah, things like that. So this is this interface, competency of an individual, and you have already described the other one that is very important. This is where the work environment is actually the guy that you're working next to, kind of contributing the reasonable part of his competence, yeah, to perform the task. Yeah? So you may work together with people on a particular task. This can be at design level, this can be at construction level, but it doesn't really matter.
I see ergonomics there as well for that one.
Pardon?
Ergonomics as well for that one.
Yeah, you could look at that as well as a factor as such. Having said so, in competence literature, this is, no, actually it is covered. Yeah, you're spot on. Yeah. Yeah, and of course, in the face of all three of them, kind of makes it effective job performance. Yeah, this is idea. Does that make sense? Yeah. So yeah, I hope that was a good start. Now, what do project managers do? This is kind of a survey that is actually not up to date. It's 2012, and the next one will be done 2016. So it's every 4 years. So this is kind of meta competencies for professional competency for the project manager. So this is a study that Andrew does with the APM, Association for Project Management in the UK. and they have as well the international ticker that they kind of operate with IPMA and PMI. And the key competencies at the current time, so this changes over time, this is very important to recognize, yeah, is currently most of the project managers are kind of expected to be problem solvers. And that is often because clients and projects run in a technical complexity that goes often beyond clients' remit. So they actually can't really form the problem themselves. They need you as an expert, yeah, to consult with your team to really being able to figure out the problem. Yeah. Then there's as well learning self-development. It goes again this push, yeah, towards the project manager to actually look after the new technologies, being up to date, mental agility, so being as well on the ball, analysis skills, and being reflective as well. So it emphasizes as well that you have to be able to kind of look back and recognize what kind of didn't work, so you can maybe improve it in the future, of course. Interrelated components that they actually recognize along that is knowledge and cognitive competence. So aware of how you act as well. Yeah? So self-awareness was a very big one. Functional competencies. This is so this is actually hidden. So they don't expect you to be the technical expert on site, but you have to be capable in conversing with the technical experts that do their piece to understand as well when something is completed. And personal and behavioral competencies. This was now the soft interaction. Allowing people to overcome maybe personal issues with the other colleague, that they can work together. Finding a way as well of bringing them together in a team, looking after the social side as well. So this is one of the toughest challenges actually in the team. You have a lot of individuals that are probably capable and skilled to do their job. This is probably why they're there. But when it comes then to the interface of making them work in a team and to perform actually the tasks that are required, you will see that that is often the tricky bit. And the responsibility arguably sits with the project manager. You may disagree about that. Then as well, and this is very new, values and ethical competencies. So this is awareness, professional standards, what is expected from you, but as well kind of hinting to the client or to your boss, this is ethically not okay. And if you look into the details, you will see that there are now things like corporate social responsibility, sustainability, environmental awareness. It's quite widely scoped. So this is expected. Now, when you actually look in a little bit more detail, you will see Gale did it in 2009. So this is kind of, you will see if you read those papers that it does change. It's not the same. 2009, it was very different to Sanchez's papers 2002. So the requirements do shift over time, what's expected from you as a project manager. And very important to realize this depends as well on your work environment and then where you may be based. So this may be different from one company to another. This may be different from one region to another. Political systems, communities have as well a strong influence on this. So here, competence arises from 3 levels of activity. And this is kind of seen as the project organizations, the core thing. They look at organizations' capability to create and produce products and services, the ability to organize, coordinate, and innovate effective ways of doing so, and capability of senior management to imagine strategies for creating value in the market. That is quite interesting. You may even be familiar with just creating value for your client. Often, do you have all markets that you're operating in, or did you have direct client relationships? I think UK is mostly markets, unless you are working like what I did. If you work for the client, you basically have just your client accountable to. But even we would compare with markets. Now, this is really to contrast a little bit the other theorem, but Andrew Gale kind of suggested, so those are basically the 5C competence modes that the project manager should kind of be able to perform. So the cognitive flexibility to imagine alternative strategic logics, to be able to understand what the subcontractor or specialist contractor or your team members may think. This is not like being in the mind of them and reading minds, but it's understanding where they're coming from. So as a subcontractor, you may have bidded to get this job, and it's the best offer you can make. If it's any cheaper, you won't make a profit. You will not be able to go home. So this may create a particular logic of how you're going into the job. Does it make sense? Yeah. So with seeing the logics, you do know as well what they may be naturally by, what they may be motivated by. Yeah. So managers or leaders' ability to see and motivate the team for alternative market opportunities and create value. So this is basically the idea. You have the bigger picture, you know what your client wants, where the value sits, and you understand the different logics of your team, and you know how you can motivate them in that direction. It's not really surprising, is it? It's kind of what we would probably expect, right? Then we have as well the coordinative flexibility to imagine alternative management processes. So this is, you have a plan B or plan C in the drawer. Conceive alternative processes for implementation, and with this as well, kind of an awareness, when to use this, of course, Now, the third one is a cognitive flexibility to identify, configure, and deploy resources. So this is basically acquire or access, configure, implement resources to achieve strategic goals. I would treat this one careful. There's actually a lot of power in playing around with it. If you delay or bring resources early, you can accelerate as well the project. But if you start playing around with it, you may upset as well your whole supply chain or your whole project team. It's a very fine line between being a good manager and potentially playing power games. Resource flexibility to be used in alternative operations. So if one way doesn't work or a subcontractor cannot perform their job, that you know alternative ways or you know a network of finding alternative ways of doing their job. Does that make sense? Yeah. So create flexibility within the organization to basically as well ease maybe if there is a particular pressure point in your project. And then last but not least, again, this is quite operational focused, operating flexibility in applying skills and capabilities to available resources. So this is a resource flexibility to a range of operating conditions. Yeah. Now this is all quite abstract, and it's a summary of kind of what we find. But let's really think about it a little bit more concrete to put that into context. What is a resource flexibility of to a range of operating conditions? So, for example, you build a brick wall and it starts raining. So what would be options there that you may consider? Now this is very specific, of course, to your site. Yeah. But simple ideas is basically create shelter, something like that. Yeah, but this would probably not even come from you. This would be probably coming from the operational team, if they are after the money. On some construction sites, we send them home. And on other construction sites, you build quickly a tent. Yeah, if you have a capable team, this is kindergarten. You can build it probably in half an hour. You have a shelter where they can keep building. When I say it's kindergarten, it's often not in the remit if you don't have a collaborative team. Yeah, but if you have a working site, then you will see that there are many solutions. And it's a capacity that you don't have to know, but you have to know how to ask your network, to bring that out. This is basically what is meant with cognitive. You are aware that that is a possibility. And the possibilities are within your team. Does that make sense? Now that is cool stuff. So if you actually manage that, and you know how to consult your team and work with them, then you are very empowered. Then you will play on the league level. But it's a tricky game at the same time. So this is Ethereum, and it has it's still tested, so you can use it as well. For I think we had one. I think you were interested in that topic, isn't it?
Yeah,
So you will probably as well fall over those papers at some point. And it's a theorem you can test. So this is still a conceptual framework that we try to prove wrong. So it would be interesting to test that, for example, in your work environment. And it's something that is quite powerful. And that can be developed. So this is competences is kind of a set of areas of ability that you can develop and harvest. This is not a problem. So as a project manager, you can drill yourself as well on that. Now, a big question is, of course, then as well, you have already noticed, I hinted here, the team and your network. Now, the big question is, how do we get our team? For some of you, you have already seen the next 2 slides before we dive into the refined leadership debate. So you may know already the answers, but or you may have forgotten them. This is the third possibility. So how do we actually pick our team? Well, we had that already. So there's bidding, subcontractors. How else? How would you describe the people that you are working with on a construction site?
It's availability sometimes as well.
The
Availability.
Availability, yeah.
Past relationships.
Past relationships, yeah.
Nominated.
Nominated? How nominated?
Being nominated either by the client or contractor. Nominated.
Yeah. So preferred subcontractors,
Yeah.
or specialist contractors. Yeah. Otherwise, how do you recruit your team?
Cost.
On
Cost sometimes.
on cost basis.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you basically let them bid for the job and take the cheapest. Or
Well, I'm thinking like if you're putting a team on, you've got a certain fee involved. I mean, it's sort of sometimes you can't always go with the people you want because the rates are too high, So you might end up with more junior members of staff on or something.
Oh, so this is internal.
Yeah.
So when you pick your team, you have as well your budget and the pricing against it. And if you want to have like a certain profit as well at the end, then you have to pick wisely.
Time constraints, the opposite end.
Time constraints? Yeah.
Ideally, the project done as soon as possible. So you have the other end of the quadrant. You bring people in, you get the job done.
So basically,
Zero pressures.
okay, you think already along the project. We have started our project, but we realized that we are really struggling to actually meet the deadline. So we bring more people in,
Maybe
or
projects
other
as
people.
well.
Yeah.
Contractors list from previous experience, used them before.
Yeah. Yeah, this is quite common. So you have kind of a list, who worked well, who didn't work so well. You may ask them to make an offer for that job. Yeah. Otherwise, anybody still doing it the South African style? South African style. How many men do we need? 10. Let's drive to that corner, and then you basically park there, and you say, I need 10 people. And then you have people basically, hey, take me, and then you pick them.
Done it once. We had a job, lots of houses to refurbish up there, and we just literally couldn't get through it. So we ended up, when the contracts manager said, I need 12 bodies tomorrow, we had 12 bodies.
So where did you recruit us? Did you know the answer?
Just that 1 week, it was just, does anybody know somebody who can literally sweep up, do this, do that?
Friends of friends, isn't it?
It was-
Friends of mates.
It was a nightmare.
Oh, so phoning up? Okay, I didn't know
It was
that.
a nightmare.
Okay, I haven't heard of that before, but so this is the square way. You form basically around in the networks and pull them together that way.
Facebook?
Really?
Didn't have
I've seen it on
it then.
Facebook. I've seen it on Facebook before.
Okay, I haven't seen it in the new medias, but that is interesting stuff. We should capture that. That is worth a paper. But what I do have seen is that you have one person that sits in a pub, and he has a contact list basically. Yeah, so he works in the trades, and I've seen that here on construction sites too. They needed as well, I think, 10 people, 10 buddies, as you said. And then in that pub, yeah, there was one sitting, and then he made a phone call, and then I think 50 minutes later he came back with 10 people. So this was pretty impressive. That was South Africa. Well, I say South Africa. I should be very explicit. So this was in Cape Town, and that was a bus station, and we knew that there were people looking for jobs basically. That's the game.
I'm a good forklift driver. Anybody wants one?
I like how you.
What I found was it was for that 1 week. It was total false economy. It probably would have been better saying to the contracts manager, look, I can get 6 and get a bollocking, but because you wanted 12, you got 12. But what happened is you paid 12, you got 6 days work. Then some of the work was of poor quality, so you had to go and redo it. So it was really just total false economy, and never did it again.
But isn't that then the team's own fault? I mean,
we were trying to satisfy the contracts manager who wanted 12 bodies, rather than actually satisfying the project with the right bodies with the right skills, even if that was a lower number. But because he was shouting and shouting and shouting on the telephone, I want 12, I want 12, we said 12.
But I mean, clearly they were not trained and
No.
up to the job, so this was a very bad experience as well for them.
So it was not a win-win, it was a lose-lose.
But did you not hold them then accountable to the work not being done properly?
They were literally there for that 1 week.
Okay.
So it was a lesson learned and never repeated.
There was never interviews or anything years ago when you were working on the site. If you wanted to fix, just went to the next job. Or
Yeah, absolutely.
that was it with your tools.
Yeah.
Was that to fix?
Same. I have to say, I didn't really work in
Do you
the.
know that, is he any good? Right.
Yeah.
We used to sort of, sometimes if we employ somebody, we just put them near or with the foreman or whatever until 10 o'clock, and then I would ask the foreman to ring the office, and his feedback was as good as we could expect. Yes, he's a good guy, or he's good, she's good, or he's good, or no, they're not suitable. That was the sort of the on-the-job interview, if you want, back in, I don't know, 90s or whatever it was.
But I suppose it was a little bit. So we had as well an foreman, and they would be normally paired up on the job.
Yeah.
And then if they were ready to do their own piece, then they would go off and work on their little jobs.
Because I never worked on the tools. I would always respect my workforce and their knowledge and their ability for them to feed back to the office to say, yes, Rob's good, or Rob's not good, or whatever. Because if I bring you up and ask, are you good, you're going to say yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of ambition in this recruitment. I learned that as well. Can you use like this and this? Yeah, no problem. I've used it many times. And then, oh, what is this?
Yeah, if you employ a decorator, he's going to tell you he's Michelangelo. I heard one manager once saying to somebody, are you any good? And it's like, well, yeah, he wants the job. Of course he's going to say that. But it's not until he actually gets started that he can actually...
Yeah.
And tradespeople know straight away how lads carry the tools, how they get the gear together, all that sort of thing. They understand that. But yeah, we learn from that one mistake.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Yeah. So there are many different ways. Do you want to add other ways recruiting the team? Any special ways?
Nominated because of being the bosses that you're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, so we have as well a lot of agencies, that send actually people to construction sites, arguably having already the skills. So if you have that scenario, make sure that they actually fit. I mean, they want to probably do the job too well, then pair them up and try that they actually arrive at a decent performance level. Yeah. But in reality, it's done via networks very often as well. Yeah, and you have like certain eligibility criteria. Yeah, you have probably seen that already in my other module. I show that there as well. But here we go a little bit more into it. So we look actually in detail at the different skills and what it actually means. So often we have here the eligibility criteria, entry criteria. Often formalized, we have qualifications or experience as well, relevant experience, references, yeah, or your own experience with seeing how they actually worked. Acceptability at interview often, yeah, and then you have as well the actual suitability, the performance criteria. Now here you have aptitude, but what is aptitude? Attitude, yeah, is mood, and aptitude is? Yeah? Yeah? Yeah.
It has to do with intelligence, speed of processing.
Yeah, of performing actually. Yeah. So so attitude is the actual performance, if you want. Yeah, and attitude.
Habits.
Attitude is basically how you're feeling about it. Yeah. What is versatility? I've used an old theory. Yeah, I just noticed the language is 20 years old, isn't it? The what is the
Versatile to change, they can adapt.
Yeah, adaptability, yeah, to the job.
Quickly and do the job correct.
Yeah, being able to work with the people around them. Yeah. Then assessments, of course. Yeah, have they actually performed the job? Yeah, can they do it? And then role fit with adjacent to the job. So yeah, basically fits in, yeah, with the rest of the construction team. But this is the traditional divide. Now, if you think about it, do they just join the team when they are available? Yeah, so this is as well a dilemma. It creates a dynamic in our team that impacts on us as leaders or project managers. Yeah, are they people you want, or are they those that have like a small budget attached to them? Yeah, the costs. Are they the ones that are available maybe? Yeah. How do you get the person you really want, but who's being underused in another role maybe? Yeah. So there's as well strategic fitting. So this job is over. Go on the next project, and the next project may actually not really be any challenge at all or interesting. And yeah, do you do this actually? Do you have a formal team launch event with the subcontractors that come for jobs? This is nearly impossible. Or do you have that? I would like to see that actually. I've seen that on big construction sites where there's a official opening with a site viewing where everything will be, where they talk you through where the crane will be, and you get the drawings of the positioning for the operations. But I've seen that only on two construction sites, so it's not very common.
You have a pre-start meeting and you drag in all your main protagonists, you know, your principal contractor obviously there, and you bring in then your main subcontractors.
Yeah.
That's going to be involved in the early stages.
Yeah.
So they could field any questions or information at that point,
but not the whole.
There's no point bringing decorators and carpet fitters and there's no need.
A couple of launches with the Duke or some of the amplified, but that's it. Just to show them the site, couple of signboards, photographs, but it's just for advertising. That's all.
Put the spear in.
Put the spear in, plant the tree with a silver shovel, and that's it. Really. That's after the job's over.
Are the shovels not all silver?
No.
So how is it on your side? Do you have actually this team launch meeting?
It's only a celebration after the end.
You don't have that either. You're missing out here. As a project manager, this is the first thing I would insist on. I want a launch event with some nice food and drink, and then again, when it's completed, successful or not so successful, I'm celebrating that it's finished. Okay, but it's a strong element. Yeah? So you have here actually a structural power tool that is not really exploited. But it shows you as well how the projects have turned.
Actually, they may have launch events, just that we kind of never get to see them, because once the site's nearly finished, the higher management take over, invite their clients and customers, and we never get to see it on an invite, so I don't know.
Ah, okay. So maybe there is some hope, but it's unfortunate. You may not actually, but this is really bad.
Limited access.
No, but we would invite everybody. I mean, literally everybody that worked on the site as well, and neighbors. So.
And the culture of the business.
Yeah. Okay, so there may be. Yeah, and by the way, those parties, there's always excitement. There's normally as well a lot of conflict potential. Yeah, when then somebody says like, oh yeah, I did this all by myself, and then you have the bricklayer in the back, I did the wall. And then you get, yeah, I can recommend those parties. There's often wonderful dynamics going on. Yeah, but as well at the launch event, that is often where you have the possibility to discuss details, yeah, and the manufacturers may be there to explain it.
Do you mean on the construction site you're thinking of, you have everyone, including like you've got labourers and everyone coming to it?
Now, yeah, so I have to maybe differentiate it a little bit. Potsdamer Platz in Berlin, this was like this prestige Sony Center project, and that was basically Sony inviting the whole supply chain council, and in Germany, supply chain, this is as well the tradespeople, so they run their own business. And yeah, it was not necessarily all the guys that were working on site, right, but it was the guy from, for example, the trades that would be the leading role, and then there may be as well apprentices with him.
So it was still right, okay, so it was selective.
Yeah, but they were all invited. So this were kind of up to the contractors. Does that make sense? Right. So, for example, I was as well. I was an internship student in the carpentry, and I came along. And I really liked it. I thought it was brilliant. But yeah, there were as well other dynamics. Yeah. And Sony, the senior management was there. They flew in from America. Ries Jan, the architect, was as well there. And then as well the glass manufacturer and the frame, the guys that basically did the frame facades for sitting the glass. Yeah, I show you already the technique how to do it. But basically that were doing the facade, so this was as well manufactured. So they were all there, and there was a lot of questioning actually going with the systems, loads for craning in. It was as well, it's like a diamond, so it's actually quite difficult to build. So you can't just shoot on, because otherwise you don't have the angle to actually swing it in. So it had to be segmented, and the crane was of course on the skyscraper, as you do know nowadays. So there were a lot of technicalities that needed to be bespoken. And when we arrived there, it was just a field. There was a little bit gravel already pushed around. It was not very fancy. And then the tent. Yeah, so where they kind of had the welcome.
I can't imagine many subcontractors nowadays wanting their staff workforce at a function where you've got your main contractors there as well. Your managers from each company turning up, but not workforce.
Yeah, because we work extremely now with a subcontracting culture, isn't it? But at that time, those guys were kind of, they were already on the list. We had like a Potsdamer Platz was a AGE, it's a particular contract form, where it's kind of a mega project, but all the small parties are bidded out, and they are already all defined. So there's no space for further subcontracting. Having said that, I brought actually other specialists in at a later point, but that had to do with things going very wrong. But yeah, interesting dynamic. So maybe this is not so common in practice, but if you go on the countryside, you may still find that. Yeah, as well if you. Yeah.
Never heard of that. No. Especially at the top of now, you're talking about the 40s and beer and that sort of stuff. No.
Not when the roof's on.
No.
Ah. Okay, so recommending working a little bit in Germany and France, still tradition, they are absolutely into this, yeah?
If you had any visitors, it would just be to pinch your tools or something, that would be it.
Yeah, okay. There may be other dynamics too. But I'm pretty sure, no, wait a minute. My friend has just built a house near Dundee, and he had the same. So there was a trades team of carpenters, and they had as well celebration with when the roof was set, with a tree with dancing. I have the Facebook evidence. I'm not sure I should present that now.
Small site though.
Yeah, it's a house, and
even when we've done houses,
That's maybe more to keep them sweet though, isn't it?
getting the roof on is just getting the roof on.
Roof on, aye.
And you'd have if the client, if you build a house for the client,
yeah.
They would probably have like a house warming party when they moved in. But when you finish the contract, it's just.
If they would have said to them, I've got the roof on, can I get us some beer and sandwiches? They would say, look, what are you on that for?
Yeah, but actually it's sponsored by the client, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's really thanking for.
Yeah, I've won, I think, I was on a multi-story, it was like 30 floor multi-story car park, and it was a party, but it wasn't a.
Wasn't that traditional? Yeah, but
you know, the trust came, they had the main contractor there, and there was a couple of other people just looking for photographs.
No dancing.
Maybe clients are not that generous anymore. Maybe that is a hidden reality. Yeah.
I think it was more for them to have a photograph, looking like they were engaged with the contractor, and that was it.
Okay, so interesting. I bring out the photos and the video. I have even a video we filmed it because I was dancing. That was just surreal, but still, it was fascinating.
They should do strange things at German beer, doesn't it?
Yes, maybe that was a surreal part. Yeah, yeah. But okay, so interesting point. So maybe sometimes, but maybe just the customer, not so much the suppliers, which is interesting. How do you find it out if the suppliers can actually do the job well? Do you know that always up front? So you said you have a list of contractors that you have worked with, and you often know it, of course.
Through lists,
Yeah. But otherwise, you're in for the ride on the first project.
If you haven't worked with them before, I suppose you're trying to find out jobs that worked on in the past, and just go through contacts. You know, have you worked with these guys before? Do you know what like check? You know.
You do your PQQs, wouldn't you?
By the time we'll be doing the cost as well. We said before. These are the cheapest, sometimes we'll get them in.
You check how many times you've been sued. That sort of thing.
Okay, so how many cases have been going against this company?
I think you just got to try and do your homework.
Yeah.
That's
okay, so it's you find basically out. Yeah. So interesting way of doing it. In other settings, we tried as well people out on a small site, and we would have one of the supervisors having a look if the work is up to the standard, and then let them run loose, so to speak. Yeah. But there are different ways of doing this. Sometimes you train them as well on the job to show them actually what's expected in terms of standard. So different approaches are certainly around that. Yeah. Then do you hang on to the good people just in case? Do you do things like that? Like just you don't really have another project to work on. Maybe support the one that is still going on another side.
Some do.
As a skills ago, how skilled they are.
I think it's been harder in the last sort of 5 years.
So what kind of roles would you hang on to? Is it more the people, and the role is not so important, or is it particular traits that you were after, like skills or?
Generally trades. I keep all the trades. Some good tradesmen are hard to find sometimes.
Yeah.
But I don't know a company that they have some good trades, and they would pay them off for Christmas time and take them back on in February. And every year you should come back with good lads as well. But
I think on that basis they know that they're probably going to get the next 50 weeks of work, where if somebody's getting paid off again every couple of months they'll probably jump. But yeah, we used to always pay some of the trades off, but the main 7-8 foremen or whatever, they would always be, even if January was quiet, we'd always keep them on, because we knew we were going to need them for the rest of the year. So
Find out what tasks were to keep a hold of.
Do the home for Christmas. Yeah. Okay.
Building things in the garden that you don't really need.
Yeah, I had a colleague at the German university, the professor that I worked for. I was in like ceramics and concrete, and the other guy opposite, he had a laboratory for steel, and he had built bridges, and he had in his garden, one of his first calculations is like, I think it was 25-meter long steel beams for a bridge with a height of 1.50 m or something. And same width, it was a double T. He had put it in the garden for a summer table, and he had like a bench that came with it. Basically, it was his first calculation he had done wrong. So the pieces came to the side, didn't fit. Okay, what do we do? Okay, he was a lead like planner, so it's his. What do you want to do with it? So they put him as a bad surprise in his garden. And then they stayed there. So he kind of makes a joke now out of it, but that was interesting too. So yeah, that is as well if you keep people busy. But he stayed in the company actually for quite some time before he went to academia. Yeah. Okay, but interesting. Yeah. So we hold maybe on to good people just to basically keep them, because it's easy to
scale new people up sometimes.
Yeah.
In the business.
Yeah, especially if you have teams working very well together with you guys as well, or your supply chain. I think that is often very, very desirable to pay for.
We used to refurbish for Scottish Newcastle. We used to refurbish a lot of pubs and restaurants, and the clients would ask for specifics for them. So although I would price the job and run the job, the actual dynamic links between the client was with the lads actually on site. So sometimes they would ask for, I want Rob to be the foreman on this job.
Yeah.
So it's important to keep them there because it's keeping the links with the clients as well.
Yeah. In particular, refurbishments or where you work in residential area, this seems to be a very strong skill. We will talk about that as well in a later session, where we look actually what's expected from the construction team. What are the interfaces? I want to leave it with that for now. Thank you very much again. In the seminar, we start off with looking a little bit at the practicalities of the assignment and the homework, the reading the paper, what you made of it, discuss it briefly, have a look how to find our journals, and the following homework is kind of already journal related. I want you to find kind of a selection of literature that you want to review for your paper. So hence we will look as well at finding articles, and then we have a discussion a little bit around particular competencies. So we have a small scenario as well for that. Okay, thank you very much. Enjoy your lunch break, and I see you later. Oh wow.